Welcome to Shreeji Coaching Classes, a path towards success.
All right, imagine this. You walk into a classroom, but the students don't just ignore you, they actively despise you. That is the incredible challenge at the heart of E.R. Braithwaite's real-life story, To Sir with Love. We're going to break down his unbelievable journey as a black teacher in post-war London and explore how he used one single radical tool to transform a classroom full of rebels: respect.
I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? It's a question Braithwaite had to answer not just in his school, but in a whole society that refused to see him for who he was. And his answer? Well, it changes absolutely everything. Okay, so here's how we're going to walk through this. We'll start with Braithwaite's backstory, this war hero facing a brand new kind of battle. Then we'll step into his impossible classroom, see the radical experiment he tried, and watch it all pay off at the students' big showcase. To really get what Braithwaite did in that classroom, you have to understand the man himself and the world that was trying to break him. Because believe me, this was not the first battle E.R. Braithwaite had ever fought. Not by a long shot. So get this. Here's a guy who's a brilliant engineer. A man who served his country as a pilot in the Royal Air Force during World War II. A literal hero. But when he gets back to civilian life in England, none of that matters. He gets turned down from job after job after job, for one reason and one reason only, because he's black. So completely defeated, he ends up taking a teaching job at Greenslade School in London's rough East End. It was the only job he could find.
And this quote, wow, it just perfectly captures that deep sense of betrayal he must have felt. The very society he put his life on the line for now treats him like a complete outsider. And that quiet rage, that frustration, that becomes the backdrop for everything that happens next.
So his new career begins in a classroom that felt, well, less like a place for learning and more like an actual war zone. He'd left one battlefield only to find himself dropped right into the middle of another.
And the hostility was instant, and it went both ways. He looked at them and saw a bunch of disrespectful, crude teenagers who seemed totally beyond saving. And they looked at him and saw this arrogant, well-spoken guy who was nothing like them, an outsider they were determined to break. There was absolutely zero common ground.
Their rebellion was this constant, daily assault. They're banging their desks while he's trying to teach, they're using foul language, they're relentlessly harassing him. And it wasn't just the boys. The girls were often leading the chaos. Braithwaite's first move, he tried to fight fire with fire. Discipline them, scold them, force them into submission. It was a complete disaster. It just made everything worse. He was losing, badly.
So he hits this breaking point. He realizes that anger and authority are totally useless here. And that's when he decides to try something completely out of left field, something truly radical. He's going to stop treating them like kids to be controlled and start treating them like adults to be respected.
So what does this new plan actually look like? Well, first he throws out the old rulebook. From now on, the girls are to be called Miss. The boys will be addressed by their last names, and in return, they have to call him Sir. At first, they're just stunned, they even laugh at him, but Braithwaite is dead serious. He's offering them a level of dignity they've probably never gotten from a teacher before, and by doing that, he demands it for himself. He's changing the entire game.
And this experiment didn't just stay inside the school. He started taking them out into the world, to museums, to theaters. For a lot of these kids, this was the first time they'd ever seen a life beyond their own tough neighborhood. And these trips, they did way more than teach them about art or history. They slowly started chipping away at those walls between them, showing the students that this teacher actually cared about them as people.
Okay, so fast forward a few months. Trust is building, the kids are actually maturing, and now it's time for the ultimate test. It's November 15th, the day of the school's half-yearly report. And this isn't just some boring assembly, this is the day the students take over.
The entire event was run by the students. They organized it, they presented it, they were in total control. All Braithwaite could do was watch. And you can bet he was nervous. But then, he heard the theme his senior class chose, the interdependency of mankind. I mean, that title alone tells you everything about how far they'd come.
And the presentations were just amazing. One student, Porter, he takes a subject like arithmetic, which can be pretty dry, right? And he turns it into this powerful metaphor. He explains how some countries use kilos and others use pounds, but they're both just measuring the same thing. They're different, but they're equal. Just like people, he says.
But the real showstopper? That came from a student named Ferdman. He has two classmates bring a real human skeleton out on stage. As it's dangling there, he just calmly explains that he can't tell if this person was white or brown,
British or German. And why? Because underneath it all, we're all built the same. You could have heard a pin drop. The entire room was just captivated. The presentations were a huge success, no question about it. But the day wasn't over. The last part of the event was a Q&A, where students could actually challenge a panel of teachers. This was it, the final test of their newfound maturity.
A confident student named Denham, who's a pretty good boxer, steps up to the mic. He politely, but very firmly, challenges the teachers about the mandatory PE class. He basically says, for kids who are already athletic, a 20-minute class twice a week is pointless. We should just have optional games instead. And you know what? It was a really good, logical argument.
The job of responding falls to Miss Phillips, a small, kind of quiet teacher. Denham presses his case, but she doesn't back down an inch. She argues that PT isn't just about exercising your body. It's about training your mind.
And then she delivers the knockout blow. She calmly explains to Denham that life is full of things we have to do, even when we don't want to. And learning that discipline now, well, that's the kind of training that will make you stronger for the future. With that one brilliant insight, Denham is respectfully shut down. He's got nothing left to say. And standing off to the side, Braithwaite is just filled with this overwhelming sense of pride. His students had presented with intelligence and maturity. Even Denham, while challenging authority, had done it with confidence and respect. The rebels were gone, and in their place stood young adults. His crazy, radical experiment had worked beyond his wildest dreams.
Braithwaite's story really shows us a powerful truth, doesn't it? By choosing to give respect, he earned it back, and that created this positive cycle that transformed everyone. Which really makes you wonder, is respect something you can just teach, like a math problem, or is it something that can only ever be truly earned through your actions?
Like and subscribe to Shreeji Coaching Classes and press the bell icon for updates.